what's up, and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we're bringing it back to our Quentin Tarantino Marathon of films with The Hateful Eight. This, of course, is the latest film commercially available from Tarantino, as there's still no word for when Once Upon a Time in Hollywood will be released to disc or digital, which is honestly kind of a shock. On average, it takes any given movie 2 to 3 months, tops, to travel from the cinema to home release, and there's absolutely no word on when that'll be yet for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which came to theaters almost exactly 3 months ago. I have a feeling that it'll just pop up on us one day, and that'll just be that. And if that happens, great. I'll be fine because I already did my marathon here. So also, randomly, if you look at Blu-ray.com, it reports that it'll be released to Amazon Prime Video in 11 years, January 2030. I can't wait. I'm guessing that's incorrect. I hope. So what exactly is The Hateful Eight all about? Honestly, there's no easy answer for that, because when I first saw this movie, I labeled it as a whodunit mystery. But out of the 5 chapters in this movie, only one of them acts like a whodunit. The other chapters act like other things, like a heist, or a revenge plot, or a social commentary on extreme racism, or a film about a couple of bounty hunters. Holy crap. The Hateful Eight is a collection of all Tarantino films thus far. I slightly wish I was joking, but honestly, you can see a lot of self-designated inspiration going on in this film, and I can't even break it down to compare it to his previous works because it might actually spoil some major plot points if you haven't seen it. I guess I can tell you that it does start out with the 2 bounty hunters played by Samuel L. Jackson and Kurt Russell. Where else have we seen 2 bounty hunters? In Django Unchained. There's a lot of parallels in these movies that are honestly pretty awesome when you think about it. But yeah, from a narrative standpoint, it's really kind of all over the place. You can say that about a lot of Quentin Tarantino stuff, but where Pulp Fiction was cinematic poetry, The Hateful Eight's kind of, in a way, cinematic chaos. The one thing that can be seen as a common denominator in this movie is undoubtedly the written dialogue, which is arguably some of Tarantino's best. That doesn't mean much coming from me, since I scored nearly every Tarantino film the same when it came down to the dialogue. The only requirement I have for great dialogue is for it to stand out in a good way. Almost all, if not all, of Tarantino's films stand out in a good way when it comes down to the dialogue, and objectively, I scored the dialogue in this movie the same as most of the others. Subjectively, this is comparable to Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction, and you can almost forgive any faults the film has because that dialogue is just so spot on perfect. Without the dialogue being the way it is, you would most likely not care about much of anything that actually happens in the movie because it's all dependent on the delivery of the lines that these people give. Now, that's not to say that the dialogue is the only positive thing this film has. It also has a very good sense of self. Each character stand out in a very equally impressive manner. They're all very memorable for a variety of different reasons. Additionally, you see this cabin in the snowstorm as a character in the film, which contains its own sets of mysteries within, and you're desperate to unlock those secrets. The performances from everybody involved is so very good. So, as per usual, technicalities win this film some major points. It's just from a narrative standpoint where I kind of find my gripes. And again, that's not uncommon. If there was one thing that remained consistent throughout all these years, it would be that Tarantino likes to play around with a narrative in a way that's really unconventional, but welcomed by a lot of people because it is so different. That being said, I felt as if the narrative in this film specifically wasn't put together as well as some of the others. That's all. Because even with a story that's a little all over the place, you still have a pretty great time watching this movie. And a part of that is because you have all these fantastic actors with all of these incredible talents that we've seen before in past Tarantino films, and they're returning and absolutely killing it in this movie. That, and this film has a very specific look about it that's hard to miss. This is one of those movies that I feel like you can take a look at it, pause it, take a screenshot, any given time, give it to somebody. And a good majority of people would just be able to look at that screenshot and name what movie it came from. I don't think that's how it works for a lot of different movies, but some really do have this quality, and The Hateful Eight is one of them. That deserves huge props. That being said, we can only forgive so much when it comes down to being unconventional. The Hateful Eight pushed the envelope a little bit further than I'd personally accept, and really the only real gripes I had with this movie came down to my personal bias and expectations for Tarantino. When looking at his filmography, The Hateful Eight won't be among the first few films that I'd think of. That tells me something. That tells me something has changed and this is not his best work. It's a pretty good movie, don't get me wrong, but it's not his best work. Then, when you start breaking it down via expectations for certain genres, this movie is once again a variety of different genres, so none of the genres were given enough screen time to be independently explored in a way that Tarantino usually thrives at. I mean, heck, it's incredibly late in the movie when there's just this random voiceover narration from Tarantino out of the blue. There's just something screwy going on with the flow of this film that I really, honestly didn't like. I rated The Hateful Eight 72%, 72 out of 100 possible stars, granting it the letter grade of C-. If you're curious on where this ranks in my Tarantino Marathon, it's in second to last place, right above Jackie Brown. And just like Jackie Brown, there are things in this movie that I love, but there's also this level of consistency that both films are kind of weird with. Take it or leave it. Guys, tell me what you thought about The Hateful Eight in the comments down below. As for YouTube, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button if you like this video and would like to see more like it. Hit the thumbs up button, as that always helps out my channel. And never forget the little bell icon, because that helps notify you when I come out with my next review. But until then, peace out.